Now, in my book, The Financial Physician, How to Cure Your Money Problems and Boost Your Financial Health, which is available, I'm not selling my book. It's been out 12 years already, and I give it away for free. I give away hard copies for free. I pay the postage to mail it to you. But if you go to thefinancialphysician.com, you can get the PDF, the electronic version of the book, which is really well done. So no need to go to Amazon and buy it, although you can do it if you like to. But in the first 3 chapters of the book, I wanted to lay out why Americans fail financially, the basic things that sow the seeds of failure for most Americans. And believe me, most Americans are failing financially, and they have been even prior to these inflationary times that we're living in now. And the reason why most Americans fail financially is the first 3 chapters of my book, and I lay it out. The first chapter is about financial illiteracy. How most people have never been taught about money and proper financial management. How kids aren't taught it in school. And thankfully, we're starting to see more school districts starting to teach kids about basic finance. And any listener to this program over the years knows that this was a real pet peeve of mine. Not teaching kids the basics of life. I mean, think about it. What are we teaching kids now? We mention on our program all the time. We teach them about gender issues. We teach them about racial issues, social issues. But we don't teach them how to use a credit card, what taxes are, proper way to buy a home and a car. I mean, we don't teach our kids the basics in finance. So chapter 1 lays out financial illiteracy. Chapter 2 is about financial irresponsibility. And chapter 3 is about feelings of material entitlement that Americans have. So let's talk about financial irresponsibility. And, when you hear this, think about this. Is this you? Is this one of your loved ones? Somebody you know? Because so many people are financially irresponsible. And when we think about financial irresponsibility, we think about not paying our bills on time, buying stuff we really can't afford, that we really don't need, taking on too much debt. So yeah, financial irresponsibility is that. Those are some of even the symptoms of it, but it's much more. Let me give you an example of financial irresponsibility. And I don't mean to offend people out there that do this, but I know a lot of people just like this. Right? I know a couple that each smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. At $7 a pack. Now, when I wrote this book 12 years ago, it was $7 a pack. It's now 10 or 12, whatever it is. But just say it's $7 a pack of cigarettes. They're spending $28 a day on cigarettes. And many people who smoke also drink. And I know somebody who drinks, between husband and wife, 2 6-packs of beer a day, which is another $14 a day. So between just cigarettes and beer, they spend $42 each and every day. $294 a week, $15,330 a year. Now, if you compound this over years, it's a great deal of money. It's money that's not going to debt service. It's not money that's not going towards a college education for our children. It's money that's not going to our retirement plan. Now, this example may sound extreme to you, but believe me, it's not. There's lots of people that live like this. Now, it could be other vices. It could be gambling. There's many vices out there. People have things they do. Maybe it's a shopaholic situation. I knew a woman who was a QVC addict. Every night she'd stay up till 4 in the morning buying things on QVC. She had 15 credit cards all maxed out. So, financial irresponsibility is a big deal. And part of financial irresponsibility is very simple, spending more money than you earn. What does that mean? That means you go further in debt. You can't spend more money than you earn without getting into debt. Not understanding the basics of financial management is financial irresponsibility. Not teaching yourself, not learning about it. Having your head in the sand. Oh, I don't understand markets. I don't know how to invest. Well, learn or find somebody that can help you. And being financially irresponsible means being short-sighted, living for today and not the future. Let me tell you about a secret. The future comes, and it comes fast. How many people are in their 40s or early 50s and saying, well, I really haven't saved for retirement yet, but, it's 20 years out there. I'll get around to it. That's financial irresponsibility, spending money foolishly, living for today. And personal responsibility and financial responsibility, they go hand in hand. You can't be financially responsible and be personally irresponsible in your life. They don't go together. You must be personally responsible to be financially responsible. And I've seen this. Next year it's going to be 40 years I've been in financial services. I've seen it all. And people who are financially irresponsible are usually personally irresponsible in their lives. And most Americans, regardless of their age, tend to act financially immature. They don't exert self-control or self-discipline or live within their means. Better yet, we should all be living below our means so we could save money. What does that mean? I'm spending less than I earn. I could put money away. Americans live the best lifestyle and have anyway. That's going to change. We'll talk about that in a second. But we've lived wonderful. We've had big houses, new cars every 3 years, whether we could afford them or not, or at the expense of our future. But at the same time, Americans, while living the best lifestyle of anybody in the world, have the lowest savings rate of anybody in the world, any other country. I shouldn't say anyone, but of any Western country. And that's a big problem because that means we're not saving money. So we're going to live really nice when we're young, but when we're older and retired, we're in trouble. And so many seniors are struggling right now. With inflation, they're on fixed incomes, they still have debt. And I'm not really talking about, older seniors. I'm not talking about 75 and older. I'm talking about people entering retirement right now. My generation. I'm going to be 62 in 10 days, right? So, the baby boomers now are entering retirement. I see them. They come to me either pre-retirement or as they're retiring. And it's amazing how many people entering retirement still have debt, still have mortgages, still have car payments, have little saved. So they may have lived above their means when they were working, but they're going to be struggling and are struggling when they retire. So how do we become more financially responsible? What can we do? Well, we can learn the basics of financial management. It's not hard to find this stuff. You can, on the internet, there's a slew of information on how to manage yourself financially, the proper way to do it, how to pay down debt, how to save for retirement, how to invest. There's many books available, including mine, that you can get for free at thefinancialphysician.com on personal financial management, personal financial responsibility. How about taking a systematic approach to your financial management? How about thinking about it? How about sitting down with your spouse or your significant other and say, let's make a plan here. Let's set parameters for our spending. Let's be disciplined. Let's stick with it. Let's have a goal to pay down a certain amount of debt this year, whether it's credit cards or home equity loan or what have you. Keep good records. You can't keep track of what's going on in your financial life unless you keep records. Doing that word statement every year or every 6 months. Write a budget. It's just amazing to me how many people have no budget. They come and see me. They're in their 50s. They make decent money. I always tell a new client, bring me your tax return. Let me see last year's tax return. Tells me a lot. And I see that, between them they make $150,000 or whatever. And we can't save. We make decent money, but for some reason we can't put money away. We don't know why. Well, did you do a budget? Do you see where your money goes? No. Well, let's do an analysis of that. Take the last 3 or 6 months and look at every dollar you spend. You'll see where it goes. It's not a hard thing to do. Carry around a little notebook. Keep it in your pocketbook or in your back pocket. Every time you spend $1, you go buy a Starbucks coffee for $5. Write it down. Now we have online banking and everything. You can see everything that your bank account is doing. Analyze your credit cards and see where your money's going. And it's very illuminating because once we see where our money's going, now we can do things to make it better. We can say, look, we're spending way too much money going out to eat. I spend way too much money going out for breakfast and lunch every day at work. Maybe I'm going to brown bag it from now on. Maybe I'm going to have breakfast at home before I leave. These things add up too. I mean, talk about being financially irresponsible. I know people who eat out for breakfast and lunch every day. Maybe that's $20 a day. Maybe it's $25 a day times 5 if you're talking work days. That's $500 a month for breakfast and lunch. That's financial irresponsibility. So you need to analyze your budget. Cut out all needless expenses. But and look, I mentioned before, vices. Vices, anybody who has a vice is not going to be financially responsible. Trust me on this. It's as simple as a smoker. Very rarely do I see a smoker have good finances. Again, personal responsibility equals financial responsibility, right? Not to mention the long-term effects on your health and what that means for your finances. So if you have these vices, now's the time to consider giving them up for your health, obviously, but also for your financial health. That's the first step. It's an acid test if you want to build wealth. Do away with bad practices, bad vices. Before you spend money on anything, apply the need test. Ask yourself if you need this, or do you just want it? If you truly don't need it, don't buy it. It's kind of hard to change that behavior, right? Many of us, we satisfy our needs through wants. We say, I feel good when I shop. I feel good when I buy something. Do I need it? And if you use that test, you're going to get into the habit of saying, is this a good thing to spend money on? Change your partners in crime. If you're hanging around with people that are gamblers, that are drinkers, they're hanging out at the bar all the time, maybe it's time to think about new friends. From a financial point of view, if anything else, but again, people who have bad personal habits are going to drag you down. And it's time to grow up. It's time to grow up financially, whatever age you are. You got to become a financial adult, not a child. And so many people who are adults act like children when it comes to their money. And it goes hand in hand. Personal responsibility goes hand in hand with financial responsibility. When you take control of your physical body, it's going to transfer to your financial health as well. And, when I wrote the book, The Financial Physician, it's the name of this show, it's the name of my website, it's the name of my book. I came up with that name because finances and health go together. I use analogies in my book. I use financial issues. I transcend into health issues. Credit cards are cancer to the financial body. Things like that. And also personal health things that you do are going to affect your finances. And obviously, the earlier you can become financially and personally responsible, the better. And as I said earlier, unfortunately, young people are not taught about financial responsibility in school or at home. So it's easy to fall into bad habits. Also, you have to understand as a parent, the way you act financially and in your personal responsibility is what your kids are going to learn. How can your kids be financially responsible if you're not? How are they going to learn from you? So you want to be an example to your children. And you want to teach your children the importance of financial responsibility, but you can't do that if you're not acting that way yourself. Now, the next chapter in the book is about feelings of material entitlement. You know, when I was growing up, I had 5 younger brothers and sisters. We lived in a small Cape Cod, a small house. I mean, it was tight. We had 1 bathroom, but we made it work. Our family had 1 car, which my dad bought new, and I never forget it, Ford, whatever, and he bought it in 1966. I remember the day I was 6 years old when he bought this new car, the first car we ever had. And I was 6 years old at the time. 11 years later, when I turned 17, that was my car. My dad gave it to me. We had the car 11 years. How many people hold a car 11 years these days? It was very rarely that we ever ate out. I mean, there was 7 of us. Actually, there's 8 of us. So, what would it cost to take out 8 people for dinner? Even if it's just something like an Applebee's or something like that. A lot of money, right? It had to be something really special, a birthday or communion or something for us to go out. When I was a kid, I remember we took 1 vacation my whole life. Now, is that a good thing? No. I mean, I'm not saying that's the way we should act, but we couldn't afford to go on vacation. Especially, again, we had a big family. The 1 vacation we took, and I'll never forget it, we drove my dad's new car. He bought the car just a few weeks before we went to Niagara Falls. That was our vacation. Money was always tight in my family, so we had to live frugally. We had to watch what we spent. And there was no choice. But today, people live differently. They have a different attitude. They're driven by feelings of material entitlement. They believe they deserve to live an extravagant life of an American. And we're taught that through the media, through advertising. We want to live the lives we see in movies, we see in magazines, advertisements on TV. We see how other people live. And we think we deserve it as well. Unfortunately, many of us can't afford to live a life of material entitlement. And we plunge into debt. We spend everything we have, and then we spend more. People today are impatient. They don't want to wait for something. And I know I'm sounding like an old man, but, people older than me, like my parents, people who are in their 75, 85 years old, you didn't buy things if you didn't have the money saved to buy. Credit was not easy to come by, and debt was something to be avoided. And then that changed in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today is that if you can't afford it, well, sure enough, you could put it on a credit card or you could finance it. So we feast today and we starve tomorrow. And that's the thing you always have to worry about. If I'm not living responsibly and I'm living a life of material entitlement, what's going to happen to me and my spouse when we're retired? We're going to have nothing. No time in history have we ever seen people live as we Americans have lived the last 30 years. Think about it. I don't see old cars on the road anymore. I remember growing up, tying up the muffler, all that kind of stuff with a hanger. People had old jalopies. We tried to keep them running. Not now. Look on a car. Every car is a late model car now. And that every one of those cars, for the most part, have payments attached to them. So if you want to be financially successful, you got to build net worth. Net worth means paying down debt, not adding to it, saving money and investing money. That's how your net worth goes up. I mean, this isn't rocket science. People think it's very difficult to figure out, how do I build wealth? No, it's very, very simple. Early in my radio career at WTTM in Trenton, 1992, I had first started in radio at that time. And I'd have a guest every week. And I interviewed the author of the book, The Millionaire Next Door. And the book was about that people who become millionaires, you wouldn't even know it because they're your next door neighbor. They don't have new cars. They don't have a big house. But they're very responsible financially. They put money away. They save money. They did without things, and they didn't go into debt. They were just very, very responsible in their personal life and in their financial life. And they built up savings, and they became a millionaire. Many of them were self-employed. They had a little business, plumbing business or an auto shop or something like that. And I know these people. I mean, I have clients that have way over $1 million in net worth, and you never know it because of the way they live. They worked hard their whole lives. They put money away. They didn't go into debt. Credit is the issue. You can't be financially successful. You can't build net worth with debt. But we've been trained that debt's a good thing. That debt allows you to live a lifestyle that you would otherwise not be able to live. But debt is the killer to financial success. Being debt-free, if you ever get there, and many Americans never will, is a liberating feeling. I remember the first time I paid off my mortgage, had no car payments. It was the most amazing feeling. It was a feeling of success. It wasn't easy to get there. Had to work hard, had to pay down debt, had to invest right. But when you get there and you say, I love it when someone comes to me, they're getting ready for their retirement or they're ready to retire, they come to me and say, I don't know anybody anything. I don't know a dime to anybody. And that's the way they say it. They don't say to a bank or to a credit card company. They say anybody. And they're proud of it. And rightfully so. They're very proud of it. You could see it in their eyes when they're saying that I don't owe anything to anybody. And that's a great thing. And it's a great thing to achieve. But to get there, you can't keep buying new cars every 3 years. You can't be taking 7-year loans and enrolling them into the new car. You can't be buying a house that you really shouldn't be buying. And that's the reason why a lot of people, material entitlement, comes down to this. Why do people fail financially? Very simple, 2 things. Cars and homes. That's the biggie. Buy new cars all the time, big payments all the time between husband and wife, having a house that's bigger than you need. Think about it. Like I said earlier, we lived in a small Cape Cod with 8 people, right? The size of homes in America have doubled in the last 30 years on average. Square footage and all that. And it's not even big enough because how many people have storage facility that they're spending $200 a month on, an extra garage to keep their stuff in? We have so much stuff that we can't even keep it in the big houses that we own. We got to rent a storage facility. Kind of reminds me of the George Carlin routine on Stuff. If you don't know what that is, go on YouTube, look it up. George Carlin, Stuff. Listen to that routine. We Americans want more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. We feel that material entitlement, we should go out and I don't want to cook, so let's go out to eat 3 days a week. At $40, $50 for two of us. Americans, as I said before, I had one vacation growing up, right? How many families feel that they have, again, feelings of material entitlement, especially for our kids? Got to take them to Disney World this year. We got to take them down to Carolina or Florida or Six Flags or whatever. Our kids need to have that. Well, how many of us didn't have an annual vacation growing up? But nowadays, we feel that our kids deserve it. And we're teaching them material entitlement. So how do we get in this fix? How did this happen? How do Americans become financially irresponsible and feel that they are entitled to whatever they want? I think that it's advertising, movies, television. It changed our culture. All we do all day is see images of new cars, new trucks. Put on a football game or a baseball game. How many commercials are car-oriented? It's advertising. It's put in our head all the time. It's easy. You see all these alluring images of how we could live this great life. The cruises, let's go to Disney World. All these commercials that we see. It's ingrained in our culture 24/7. We're advertised to all the time. So it takes effort to swim against the tide here and say, you know what, I'm not going to be that person. I am going to be financially responsible. I'm going to be personally responsible. I'm not going to feel that I'm entitled as an American to have things that I can't afford. And it's really that simple, and that's what we need to teach our children and teach ourselves. All right, time for a break. 732-237-9626 is the call-in number. My name's Lou Scatigna. You're listening to The Financial Physician. Don't go away.